What's up, Tyler?
Hey, how are you?
No, I'm talking to the other Tyler that we're gonna have on today.
It took me, I actually still was messing it up by the end of the podcast I knew that you weren't talking about me when you said the muscles slamming
I
through the
was
drawer
talking
box. I
about
was
you.
like, nah, he's not talking about me
I
now.
was talking about you.
Yeah, don't blow smoke up my ass.
I would never. We got Tyler Farrell back on the podcast from Killowen Construction. I feel like I just said his last name wrong. Farrell, not Farrell. And if you guys listened to the first episode, we talked a lot about his people, and we're going to talk about it again today. But we're going to talk about how 2023 has been a challenging year for everyone, and what we're all doing to cope with the challenges, and how we're working together to work through those challenges, and really talk about the power of community, things like the Builder 20 group, um, you know, social media, the good and the bad side of it, but really what it means to own and operate a construction company, and the challenges that you're faced with doing so.
Yeah, it was nice. We just had a pretty low key, open and honest conversation, which was enjoyable. I think I needed that today. Um, just how I'm feeling, amount I'm working, how jobs are going, how life is going. I felt like it was an opportunity to be open and honest, and um I think we did that. I can't say we didn't. So I'm proud of everyone. It was a good podcast.
This podcast is also brought to you by Andersen Windows. Nobody takes energy efficiency more seriously than Andersen. That's why they offer multiple high performance glass options that make it possible to get Andersen windows and patio doors that are Energy Star certified. No matter where you live in the country, check out their triple pane options to keep more heat in and cold air out. For more information, visit andersenwindows.com or the link in the description of this episode.
We have to tell them that their ads need more than one paragraph or else I don't get to participate.
Well, you just did.
All right. Thanks, Anderson.
This podcast is brought to you by Buildertrend. What would 10% more profit mean for your business?
Better equipment, for Nick, it would definitely be more team members, higher salaries.
Well, with Buildertrend's estimating software, they're all possible.
By using their construction management software to build accurate estimate, teams are finding that previously missed costs are now being turned into 10% more profit.
You can use pre-built and standardized templates to speed up the estimating process and ensure consistency, or streamline the calculation of materials and measurements with digital takeoff capabilities.
Get a clear picture of your project's financials before work even begins when you sign up for Buildertrend and start using estimates. Schedule a free demo by going to buildertrend.com/MC demo.
There we go. What's new, dude?
Oh man, a lot of just our houses are awesome. Really, really lucky because I don't know when. I don't know. I've just had this many cool projects coming up. We have, and I'm a part of Builder 20 group. I know you are too, Nick. But it's interesting to go and just see what's going on around the country.
Yeah.
We have a lot of similar problems, but the markets are definitely different, right?
Yeah.
And I am in my own little world as far as what we do specifically, like with these luxury homes and their second homes, and we live in like a destination area, so we build for people all over the world. And I guess we're kind of in a little bit of a lull, right, with the economy, but we just have a lot going on. So next year, 24, I kind of thought was going to be the year that like our type of homes would get hit, because last year you saw just everything. I mean, normal houses, right? Starter homes, the type of home I live in, like dead, right? Rate, mortgage rates, all that stuff. And I always thought 24 would be when our type of homes got affected, and it doesn't appear that way, at least for us. I don't count them as real until we have like all the final numbers. We have someone sign like an intent to build to get us going with the pre-construction, all that stuff. But then, so I can't really count them until they're like the final contract signed, budget's good, and we're digging. So we have a lot next year, and I don't know, some might, you never know what'll happen. Some might drop out and all that stuff. But I am hiring, which is a whole other beast, right?
Mm,
Um, I'm so fortunate with the people I do have. They're so good. We're and I don't know, it's kind of a high bar because
yeah.
I see them, I see Sam, I see Derek, see Maeve, see Addison, all these people, and I'm like, yeah, you're not them. You might be good, you might be okay, but you're not them. So I'm a little spoiled that way. But we have some good candidates, and I don't know, interviewing's hard, man. Like
How
Uh,
it's hard
well,
for them.
how did you so not that I don't believe you, but how did you find the employees? Like, was it just happenstance, or did you seek out these employees? Did you vet them properly? Like, how did you find the employees? So,
Yeah.
like, that's everyone's biggest issue. And
Mm-hmm.
I like for as many good employees, you probably have equally as many bad or have had more bad experiences with employees. And like, that's everyone's biggest issue.
Right.
And everyone, like, how do you get good employees?
So it's a mix, and I'll just tell you what I think has worked the best. So I'm a really not a good interviewer. I hear all these people interviewing, and they have like, take this aptitude test, and here's like an
mm,
Excel sheet, figure this budget out or something. I don't do any of that. I've probably made two not good hires that are like not a culture fit, and I was at a point where I was so busy that I was almost like, you know what, I'm so sick of training. Just give me people who can build houses and go make me money, which
mhm,
was the wrong attitude because we had some hires and allegedly their experience were very good, but like I
mm,
kind of knew, if I'm being real, I kind of knew they didn't pass the vibe check.
yeah.
And there's probably a way cooler way to say vibe check, but like the feeling within our team is so good, and we are. I've probably said this last time. I hesitate to use family in a work,
Right.
in the work arena because it's not fair to them. Like I don't want to guilt people into working hard because we're family, but there's a lot of elements that come in that, a lot of family dynamic. Like, yeah, you can be like, I can kind of be mad and say negative things about my sister, but if Nick, you say that, oh, that's fighting words. You know what I mean? So you really need them to get along, and it's very interesting that the ones that are more team players, and I see them helping everyone else, and they'll go way farther and make more money than the others, right? I don't want you to be a lone wolf. So going back to hiring, so like I think the best ones I've had, we've known somebody, right? Or they
Mm,
come and like have a personal recommendation for someone, like, hey, this person is not weird. They are not on drugs. Like, you know what I mean? Because people can interview very well,
yeah.
and it's hard for me and for them because the family thing aside, like I, as the boss, I do feel like every time I hire someone, I have another family on my back because I've got a very large payroll, all that stuff. And so if I hire them, I take it very seriously. You're part of us now, and I'm not good at firing. I'm not, and I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna be better because you need to. Because I've just looked at it this way, where if I don't do that, I'm actually hurting the entire team, right? So, but anyway, I don't want to say there's a lot of people I need to fire or needed to fire, but
Do
so
you
I
are you
think
are you handling the entire hiring process, or do you have someone else helping?
no. So how I'm doing it now is I'm getting in front of them for the very first call, like if I like their resume,
Hmm.
and it's 15 minutes, and it's probably a Zoom call, and I just kind of see if I think I could see them representing our company, right?
Right.
How they handled themselves, all that, and then we actually have one tomorrow, and then I get 3 or 4 of my PMs who I totally trust, and they're really just great at what they do, but they also have very different personalities,
Mm,
very different. I actually get them in a room with the person. I'm not there, and they just kind of tell them how it is here and ask them questions, and it's kind of like it's not super formal, but they just kind of shoot back and forth. And I have one guy who's like, "Hey, construction's not for everybody," and they're not intentionally playing good cop, bad cop, but then Other people are like, well, it is really cool to work here. I've worked for some companies that, don't care about us, all that stuff. So that's, I think, kind of a good one because, I have a final say, obviously, but I want them to get in a room with a few of my people. And it's worked out pretty well.
How many
Yeah.
people work for you guys?
So we have about 20. I say that because we have the cabinet shop too. We have people who don't even come in that are remote office staff. And then we have 7, 8 project managers. We have some junior project managers.
Project
So
manager for you
we're
is on the job, like running the job, like they're a hybrid
yeah,
super, right?
that's what I prefer. But we have some that are a little more field heavy, and we're
Mhm.
doing some training for the office. There's a lot of different ways to run it, but I do like the hybrid where it's kind of a mini general contractor, right? Like the field stuff and the budget stuff too. I just think there's a lot to be said about being able to do both.
Mhm.
But I'll take the talent wherever I can, and if we
Yeah.
need to pivot a little bit, we can. We're doing one where um, I have one guy who's just so amazing on site. He can build the crap out of a house, like
Mhm.
building way better houses than I ever could have. But he gets into he puts his bags on. He's got like his knee pads on. He just gets into the layout on the floor, laying out beams and stuff. And he's just not, the best at emails and all that stuff. So we have another project manager kind of handling that part, right? So again, we're flexible.
Yeah.
As long as the critical things are getting done, I don't care if it's getting done by a couple people.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we've basically built our model to have a PM and a super on every job.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more expensive. Our general conditions are, you know, definitely more expensive for any of the smaller, say like sub $2 million projects. Anything
Mm-hmm.
over that, is pretty typical and aligned with most of the GCs that are around here, where it's like they're also doing, you know, less of the hybrid model and more of the division.
Mm-hmm.
And we found that our clients are just demanding it. When we had the hybrid, it was they felt as though they weren't getting as much communication as they would like. And and I don't think it's right nor wrong. I think it was really had a lot to do, or has a lot to do, with our people. And like
Sure.
you said, it's what their what their skill set is. We've had
Mm-hmm.
supers that same thing. They put their bags on, they're doing layout, and then you got the guys that are more behind a laptop and managing the project digitally, and obviously communicating with trades on site, but very much a hands off approach.
Right. Yeah. And I think it can work both ways. I kind of look at some of our, I don't know if I want to call them competitors, but just
Yeah,
peers. Um, when I was in Ireland, it was actually with a group of builders. So that was cool. There was a lot of builders I respected.
local
And I
builders,
would
or
just, what's that?
local to Ireland, or
No, from Utah. So we went
oh,
out,
okay,
our appliance rep, they
got it.
do a cool trip every year. And yeah, there's some builders there that I really admire and respect. And I would kind of corner them on the bus and talk to them about like how they run things. And um, there's definitely more than one way to get this stuff done. But
Yeah,
I came back. It was like I had a couple ideas. Also made me feel pretty good about how we're doing it. I feel like we're doing some things right after
yeah.
talking to some people and their challenges. So um, yeah, I think ultimately what I'm working on right now is, again, find those people is so critical, right?
Hmm.
But I'm working on making a list of what are the things that only I can do. The things that only I can do are what I should be doing all the time.
What is
Because I
that
have,
like? What is your? Because I think that it's funny. I feel like a lot of people this year in that role right now, trying to figure out what they should focus on, because they have
Mhm,
been so busy,
mhm,
and everyone has communicated like this has been a very challenging year, and
mhm.
I would agree. And
Yeah.
it's my that question comes up a lot. Tyler and I talk about it. My internal team and I talk about it. It's like, what is it that I want to be doing every single day, and or what should
Mhm,
I be doing every single day, and should I be pulling my attention away from the things that aren't providing value? So
mhm.
what is that for you?
I think it does boil down to overall leadership. I know
Mm-hmm.
that kind of sounds like a little bit of a cop out, but um, there, I really want to be with my team and helping them as opposed to doing busy work for them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's sales. I mean, I know our product better than anybody. I need to be very client facing. I am. I continue to work with all of our clients. I mean, that kind of goes back to how I staff things too. All of our projects do get me, a project manager, super or slash like assistant project manager and our controller. So about 4 or 5 of us. But so I think some of that and some just one-on-one in person time on the job sites, going over quality control, cool details.
Mm.
I think a lot of the networking, and I'm not just talking about social media or being on podcasts and stuff, but really keeping our relationships with our architects and designers and some of our vendors really tight and very personal. I feel like I've ignored a little bit of that when I'm in the weeds too much.
Yeah.
High end budgeting and estimating and contracts that doesn't all need to be done by me, but it needs my oversight.
Yeah.
Um, then there's just being available when there is a challenge. I am available, but it seems like uh, my to-do list could be diluted quite a bit. So I've been working on that a lot actually. So I'm working with my team to be like, okay, we have all these things I'm doing, but Sam can do that, Derek can do that, Mabe can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually working on formalizing that a bit so people actually know what the roles are instead of everyone just being willing to do whatever I need.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to sell this company and I'll be with this company for as long as it goes. But I think the idea is to be able to have a company with systems in place where if I'm gone, it doesn't fall apart.
When you say
Right.
you don't,
And
you'll never you won't sell the company. Have you given thought to what that looks like when it is
yeah,
done?
well,
Like,
sorry, okay, yeah.
no, I
Well,
was just,
yeah, I
yeah,
have.
I was just gonna say, like, what is that? If you're not gonna sell it, what is the end result of Killowen?
Yeah. So I do think it is handing it off to my great people.
Yeah.
So when I say I'm never going to leave it, I can't see me just like retiring in
Sure.
5 to 10 years and being like, just go take Killowen and do whatever you want. So I think, I mean, I don't want to call it an exit strategy, but like, I think a good thing about working here is we're still growing and we're still trying to become what we want to become. And I think there's opportunity to be a part owner or an equity,
Yeah.
shareholder or something where these people who work with me, are probably listening to this, could go get a job somewhere else. They're good. They're good. Hopefully this company brings enough value to them that they'll want to stay with us, but it's not, we were talking about Killowen, right? I didn't plan this when I named the company, but I'm glad it's not Tyler Farrell Construction.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm glad it's Killowen. I'm glad it's like Killen can be a thing on its own, right? That
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to lean on me. And I know that is a little more difficult because with our social and everything, I'm very, you know, I'm the face of it, right? And I'm out and all of that. But I think I see my team just stepping up, making more money, being, executives in the company. And I, I have very young children right now and I see them. I think I'm doing a good job with balancing that. More quality over quantity, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But when my children get a bit bigger, I'd love to take my little girl on a horse ride in the middle of the day, if I could. So I think that's really the goal of anyone is to be able to do what you want with your time. But I do want to build. Like I
Yeah.
don't want to get out of building. I really really enjoy it.
So what's really the catalyst for you wanting to have partial ownership or stake within the company with employees? Is is that a way for you to have people step up, take a little bit more priority and shoot what they kill and take a little bit more off of your plate.
Yeah, it is. You got it right on. I mean, the more, I guess, the more they do, the less I do. You
Yeah.
know, they're gonna make more money, and that's worth it to me. We're getting older, guys, and we don't get that time back. I've been grinding, and I am a grinder, but like, when you say like, "Oh, I'm gonna get burnt out," I got burnt out like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's just something that's been very important. I mean, we're having another baby soon. I'm just looking at all of our opportunities, just real with this company and, you know, my personal life. I do want to lean on some of these great people we have. And um, we build way better houses than I used to. I mean, for those listening, every house we built is very, very good. It's fine. But I do think the level of homes has continued to get better and better and better. You know, our quality, the building science behind it, all that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think I could have done that alone. When I was building, when I first started, we were doing basements and bathrooms and nice homes, but not the level we're doing now. And I've really benefited from hiring from other companies as I've grown, people that do what we do. They've taught me a lot about stuff. So, and again, that goes back to the hiring and the team dynamic. We have so many like smart people that, you know, I'm hoping we avoid mistakes. Everyone, the aggregate of everyone, you know, with all their mistakes and all their learning, you know, can share that. And I think we do build way better houses than we used to.
Nick and I have discussed recently, and I was on a phone call with somebody today about incentivizing your employees and what that means and how much you can
Mm-hmm.
pull out of them. And I feel that there's a cap financially, not even from a money perspective, but like you offer somebody more money, and at some point it's just they're going to continue to do what they're doing, even though they're getting paid more money.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, bringing somebody in, you're looking for, hey, I want somebody to own this or approach this business as if they own it.
Mm-hmm.
And that does seem like the right direction. And it's almost like Nick and I just discussed, like, why isn't everything performance based? And I think it takes a certain employee to want to sign up for that. But we were even speaking internally from the podcast where it's like, hey, if people are working for us, why aren't we giving them a percentage of sponsorships that are landed, where it's like you get a base salary and then every sponsorship package that you land, you get a percentage of. There's some people are just going to take the base salary and do the bare minimum, but the people who are super driven,
Mm-hmm.
like they're going to make you more money and make your job easier. And like for us, that's almost like why isn't that all a business? Like why
Mm-hmm.
doesn't everyone have some sort of stake in what they make other than just showing up and putting in 8-10 hours a day?
Mm-hmm.
It
Well, bonus structure is like, I think, really hard to figure out in our industry. Because scheduling, you know, sometimes you can do your absolute best and then, you know, painter doesn't show up or something crazy happens. We do have like a bonus structure based on 5 or 6 things that we can actually, like, we have data, we can figure that out. But I totally understand that doesn't, just doing these things we can measure doesn't make you a great project manager, because it doesn't take into account, hey, people really like you, like you have good attitude, good personality, team member. Like, there's not really a metric for that.
Mm.
But yeah, I get it. Like, incentivizing employees, that's kind of where I'm saying, like, I'm hoping that I can get to the point where, you know, people want to stay here instead of going out and starting their own company, and they want to stay here because, you know, Tyler wants to back off a little bit, and, you know, he's willing to share some of that ownership.
yeah,
And those. Mhm.
I wonder I wonder how many people want that. Like if you're providing pay and benefits and a good like a quality job and situation and lifestyle for these people, how many people want to be partial owners, and how many people are just like, I'm kind of good where I am. And that's not to
Yeah.
say that that's like, I always feel as though the easiest thing to do would be like I always think when I'm on the job, I want somebody to approach this as if they own it. That's why it's like when I hire subs, I want to hire an owner operator, because at the end of the day, it's their product, even though they're a subcontractor for me. And like,
Yeah.
I want everyone to have stake in something, but I wonder how many people actually want stake in it themselves.
No, you're right. I mean, it goes back to what motivates people. Because I remember I had this conversation, like, would you rather have more time off or more money?
Yeah.
And they're like, more time off, definitely more time
Hmm.
off. And then some people are just like, I kind of don't care about the culture. I just want to make more money. Like, I kind of don't care if you let me work from home or if you're not micromanaging me. It's just money. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm trying to think about what I'm motivated by, just like
It is. It's
success or
everyone's so different. And the conversation I had today was that this guy feels as though he's paying his employees top dollar value for the market that they work, and overpaying them, but paying them more than his competitors are, but they're still not executing the details that he wants.
Hmm.
And
right.
I'm sitting here to myself saying, like, I think that you could hand them as much money, you could keep handing them money till you're blue in the face, and they're going to continue to do the same thing, because
Right.
whatever that incentive is, it's not checking the box for them. There has to be something else that you're missing to make, or they just will never be that way. No matter what you
Yeah.
throw them, they're just not that person that's going to be that detail oriented. And it's almost like he's trying to band-aid a fix, or
Yeah.
he has a level expectation that's unrealistic for this employee.
I think that's the most challenging thing right now is that, and what's interesting too, when you think about social media and how social media has impacted all of us in a positive way. And I mean that by the fact that, like, I look at what you guys do, you look at what I do, and we're all inspired, encouraged to do better work, right? That's
Yeah.
like the intent when we're thinking peer to peer. We're pushing each other to be better, and with that our expectations go up, and with our expectations going up, there's a lot of employees that come aboard early on, and they're not aligned, they're aligned with you in the beginning, and then there's this moment where you outgrow each other.
Sure.
And like, I think that was my biggest thing when I look at 2023, is that my expectations continued to change, and I tried to communicate those, and I found that I was misaligned with people. And and then it's the same thing. I went through the incentive game. I'm like, what can I throw at this person to incentivize them to do better? It's like,
Hmm.
hey, get this job done by this date, and hey, I'll share a point off the profits on this project. And it's like, yeah, we're just never gonna hit that date. I'm like, okay, we're like we're like 12 months away. Like, why wouldn't you want to try to do that? And it
Yeah.
wasn't, and it just, you know, it's tough. And you said it right in the beginning, is like, it's been tough. And
Hmm.
uh, you know, Tyler, like, you and I chat offline too. There's 2
Hmm.
Tylers, so I'm talking to
Yeah.
Tyler Farrell. But, like, we talk offline too, where it's like, and we talk about the same challenges with people. And
Hmm.
it's always the expectation game. And, for me, my biggest struggle is, like, when do I stop investing the time and trying to get that person to understand what I'm after? And that is the most difficult thing, because you wanna believe that that person wants what you want, when the reality is they don't.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know, this might come off really pessimistic, but I don't think I can change my employees, but I can help them improve. Like what you're talking about, if they're not, I don't know,
But
I
do they
have some
want to be
employees,
improved? That's the thing.
right?
Like,
I think like I definitely have like team Killowen guys, right?
mhm,
Guys and ladies that are just like, if it's better for the company, that's what I'm going to do. And then some are just here for the paycheck. And you know what? It's fine. I mean, it is a job, right?
mhm,
But I just know those ones that take it more seriously, as if it is their own company, will be taken care of. The I don't know. It's tough because I, like, for example, Levi, who works for me, is my first employee I ever hired, and such a good guy. Everyone absolutely loves him. He used to be my tile setter, but he has what we call Levi eyes, really sad eyes. Like when he's having a bad day, we're like, oh no, what happened, Levi? But he takes it so personally, which makes me feel bad and also proud. Like, cause he does take it home, and I'm just like, hey, I'd love to see you smile. I'd like you to be a little bit happier. And but there was a challenge on a job recently, a schedule delay, and whatever. A few things happened, and the owner just laid into him, and I know he didn't like sleep for like 3 nights, and he just takes it so personally, and I love that about him, but also want him to enjoy his job a little bit more.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be excruciating and torture. And it's a little bit, I have that personality too. I take things so seriously and personally that I need to lighten up a little bit. Also, I don't know, I was that way when I was young. Now I'm so serious and concerned all the time when things are going really well. But again, as far as it just goes back to what we were starting to talk about, the hiring is really hard, and getting those people. And once you get them, you got to take care of them and be fair with them. And
you just you see online, you see what people say and what they advocate for online, what they communicate for, and then you see Instagram and everyone, like, you see business owners, and everyone's appearing successful. Everyone appears to have the best employees. And the more I speak with people and the more I see of the industry, especially as of late, it's getting harder and harder for people, and they're truly struggling with labor and with workforce, and trying to keep companies afloat and execute the way that they need to execute. And it's I want to shed light on that, and that wasn't my intent through this podcast, but that as much of what you see, that everyone's going through a lot of this, that everyone has these employees, that everyone has difficult times with employees, and you have to prioritize and what matters to you and what's important to you. And I see, Tyler, you said that you're trying to back off some of that and spend a little less time with the company, and having good employees like makes all the difference there. Like, that makes that a possibility versus not being a possibility, and that's a struggle in it of itself to try and find, like, it's so difficult to own a business and then try and figure out how can I take time off of my business and put people in place to run that without employees. And I think that we're all struggling to do that. Everyone I speak with is struggling to do that. And I see these people and I see what they're projecting with their online presence. And then I speak to them and it's like, yeah, this is really hard right now. And I'm speaking to so many people about that right now that I do want to, like, properly communicate that no matter how successful you or your business is, like Nick, for example, like, it's been a struggle. It's been really hard. And I don't want to get on. And that's why I asked you, where you're like, I have the most amazing employees. And it's like, I need to know the secret, because everyone I speak with, like, it's just there, with the good comes the bad. And
yeah.
it seemed that a lot of people are struggling with the bad right now. And I don't want people to get on, listen to the podcast and be like, what the hell is wrong with my company and the people who work for me? Because I can't catch a break right now.
Well, I think I've been doing a lot more networking with other builders because I didn't really have any type of mentor. My dad wasn't in construction. I had no one really in construction. So I've been talking to a lot more builders recently. I've been, sending correspondence and just all this stuff, trying to just talk to people about best practices. Because if I'm doing something the wrong way, I'll change. And I'll improve. And that's another thing about bringing great employees on that I mentioned, is like, they've brought really good ideas and I'm willing to adapt. But I think from talking to these other builders, there was, again, when I was in Ireland, they're all pretty baller builders to get invited on this trip. I mean, they really take care of us I felt so unworthy to be there. And like, they really spoiled us. I was like, wow. And then I felt like everyone on that list that I met had made it, you know? And I was talking to one builder in particular who I'm just picking his brain, and I think he does such a good job. He's like, yeah, you never feel like you've made it, have you?
Yeah.
And then you talk about, oh, I have this, oh, they have this problem, they have this problem. I think to make everyone feel a little bit better is we do need to be real about, hey, every good company, every single one I've ever worked with has problems. Some do it better than others, but it's really about how you handle those. Because I come back from these meetings and I tell my team, like, oh, hey, what did you learn from your builder group? And I'm like, I learned a few things, but I was really thankful for you guys because we're doing some stuff right. And you guys see how the sausage is made. So don't be too hard on yourselves. Like you would think with the challenges we have, like, oh, it's a mess. Like, no, we're doing really good. We just really care. And it's construction. You just wake up every day knowing you're dealing with problems. The hope is that through your experience and your processes, you're actually dealing with fewer problems than everyone else is the hope. And I think some clients get a little frustrated with me sometimes when we have a problem or a mistake and I'm not as upset as them because I'm just like, well, we'll just fix it. I've dealt with worse probably, so yeah, I think in Instagram, we all know this, or else it's highlight reels, it's all that stuff. I do occasionally try and show like, hey, this is where we messed up, or this is where we could have done better. You want to be careful with some of that because you don't want to appear incompetent. But like, there's times where like, I don't know, we did a video and you know this, there are eagle eyes out there, right? And we like,
it's crazy.
It is crazy. And I get thinking like, what? Because I don't actually browse much, whenever I go on, I'm trying to respond to comments, stuff like that. But like some of the things that'll be like, dude, you flashed that wrong. And then I'm like, crap, he's right. Like, and you want to address stuff like that and you want to be real. And occasionally I'll just, not so much the post, but the stories, I'll get on and be like, hey, we have this challenge, everyone kind of get your priorities right. It's not all perfect. Because I don't love going on and scrolling because I'll see like your guys' work and be like, why am I not building that? I'm a terrible builder. Like, why can't I do that? And I think it's the nature of it. You're not intentionally trying to one up each other, but like if you're looking at it the wrong mindset, it's hard. So I think it's good for us to show some of the challenges and construction. Well, with a lot of the applicants I'm getting right now, because we're hiring a couple of project managers.
When did you join a Builder 20?
I've only gone to one.
So that's your first one.
Yeah, I just had one. So it was my first one. I had kind of signed up like 2 years ago, but it didn't really go anywhere. And then I got invited to this one.
What made you sign up?
Everyone told me it was like amazing and really good. And, one of the best things they've ever done for their company. So it was fun. I mean, it was kind of, a lot of it was boss problems, right? So it's kind of commiserating together, and hiring was discussed quite a bit, and employee relations, stuff like that. So I thought it was helpful. Definitely some good things that I brought back. And then, like I said, some things I'm like, oh, we're not doing too bad.
Yeah. I think that's what I really appreciate it about the Builder 20 is that you have the opportunity to, exactly what you said, commiserate, talk about things that work for other people. You're sharing things that work for you. Everyone gets, even if it's like 1 or 2% better in those 2 days. And then you go around, you compare, right? Like you see what people are building and you're seeing things that they do better, but then you're seeing things that you do better from a quality standpoint, whatever operation standpoint, whatever it is. And that is, you're expecting to go there and see all just everything's perfect and these homes are gorgeous. And then you're able to see behind the curtain a little bit and be like, okay. And I think that right there is one of the more powerful parts of it because you do take this kind of weight off your shoulder where it's like, okay, I'm doing good. if the if you know it's not perfect, they're facing challenges too, and and here are the things that I feel as though I'm doing better, so let me provide feedback and provide value. And when you're doing that, when you're providing value to them, now you've basically created this mutually rewarding relationship, right? Where it's like you're
Mhm.
taking from them and you're sharing back.
Yeah, and they get it, right? Like one thing I constantly struggle with is I do think like attitude comes from the top down.
Hmm.
And I really try not to walk around, if I'm having a bad day, being mad or complaining. And I don't think it's fair to really or good to really complain to my colleagues a lot, right?
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of good things, and I'm guilty of it. At least I'm aware of it, and I want to be positive. I want to be like, hey, but what about this good thing, all this stuff? And I don't actually. When I go home, I don't vent to my wife.
Hmm.
I don't know if she wants me to, but like I just don't want to talk work. I want to be present with the kids when I get home.
Yeah.
And I don't have a therapist. Maybe I need one, but it's good to talk to other builders, right? I
Yeah.
think it's healthy. I think it's very healthy to understand like you're not the only one that deals with this.
Yeah.
And
we
there's
we have
no
a
perfect business.
no, and we it's funny, we have a like a group chat for all of the Builder 20 group. And a couple months ago, I was just in a spot where I was struggling and I just didn't know how to deal with the situation. I I I,
Yeah,
I just didn't have a solution. And same thing, I'm not going to go home and talk to my wife or vent to my wife. She's got 4 kids that she's looking after, and it's like,
yeah,
and then I get home and it's like, hey, I need to bitch about something. It's like it just doesn't
yeah,
work.
mhm,
And I remember I was in New Hampshire, looking at a project, and I was driving home, and I was like, I'm gonna leave a voice note for my entire Builder 20 group. And I ended up leaving them like an 8-minute venting voice note that I don't know. Kudos to whoever listened to all 8 minutes. But then all of a sudden, like it was like 12 minutes went by, and then all of a sudden my phone rang. 3 of them called me. They were all texting. And I talked to one guy for like 45 minutes on the way home. And I'm like, I feel so
yeah.
much better.
Oh,
And so
good.
from that point, I just constantly like will dump voice notes in there. And we just had our meeting a couple weeks ago, and they're like, "Hey, like for the group, can we do more of that? Like that's the whole
Yeah,
point of this group is
yeah,
no everyone's quiet, and then we meet in person, then we all chat, and then we go away and we don't talk."
yeah,
And because I was like, "Hey, sorry for blowing you guys up. I was in a tough spot." They're like, "No, no, no. This is great. Like you're opening the opportunity to be vulnerable, and that's the whole point of this group."
yeah. And I think that's healthy. I struggle like with mental health. I
Mhm.
have. I always have. Like I've always had really low self-esteem. I'm anxious, but like in some ways I think it's made me better because I'm always afraid. I'm always afraid of not living up and like, you know, so a lot of what I do is out of fear I'm not living up to my potential or whatever. And um, it is good. It is good to vent, but I guess what I was getting at is like who you vent to. It's
Totally.
like I don't mean this in a negative way at all, but with my employees, they don't need to know all of my problems. They've got their own problems, they've got their own things that they're working on. So
You also
kind of
need
like
to
with
you
my
also need
wife.
you need to show strength,
Yeah,
right? And
exactly.
I
Exactly.
think that's the difficult part is that when things aren't going well,
Hmm.
people are very reluctant to share because of the sign of weakness.
Yeah.
And that can be taken in a number of ways, right? Where, you
Hmm.
know, some people might see weakness and be like, "All right, I'm out. Like I'm going to find another
Yeah,
opportunity."
I'm
And
like, oh, this guy is a time
like,
bomb.
yeah, like we got to get out
Yeah.
of here before this implodes.
Hmm.
And I've been in situations like that where people have questioned it
Yeah.
with me. And I'm like, all right, I'm
Hmm.
I'm doing a bad job like outlining where we're at and what opportunity we have in front of us. And instead I'm venting, which is not helping the situation. Where it's like I need
Hmm.
to be encouraging, I need to be positive, I need to have the right mindset. Because if I start going down this road of just like negative, 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 I'm going to lose people, and I'm also going to drive myself to a point where I can't return.
So, so let's get to the how. How can we be better at that? Sounds like we all struggle with that a little bit. Like, what
I
are some things you do?
I honestly think so much of it is just having the conversation with people who are feeling that way and assuring them that everyone is going through the same thing, because they don't realize, like, you see these people who are up above you and you think that they have it all figured out, and people don't realize that they don't have it. It's like looking at your parents growing up saying like, yeah, my parents know how to be parents, and
Yeah,
then you become a
yeah,
parent yourself and you're like, My parents were just making all of this up, like they're
yeah.
just like I thought my parents were so old when they had kids, and I'm like, yeah, my parents age. I have a 10-year-old daughter, and I'm like, my parents had no idea what they're doing. It's the same thing with business.
hmm
And I think you get these younger men and women who are coming into business and thinking, I have a dozen employees and I can't not work. Work's a mess. I feel like I'm paying to keep the doors open. And nobody's discussing what the fixes are, or that they're even going through that. They're just saying, I have X amount of trucks and I have this many employees and I have a workshop. And they don't realize that these people are putting 80 to 100 hours a week in. And I think it is important to reach out to these younger men and women and communicate with them that, hey, everyone's going through this. Like, what are the practical changes that we can put into place? Because at the end of the day, for me, like, you have to look at all of this very simply, and it's if you are working that much and your business is not sustainable, then you need to make a change.
Right.
You either need to put different people in place, you need to scale back, you need to scale up. That, like, if business is that difficult for you and you cannot survive, like it's that taxing on you, then you're not doing something right. Instead of just
hmm
being like, hey, we're men in construction, we need to put the boots on and get past this. And that's the biggest thing for me, and that I've realized speaking with a couple of people, and more importantly, or more recently, my conversation today, is that, like, there's other fixes to this than just saying like, hey, we can get through this.
Mhm.
And to realize that, like, not everyone else needs to be put up on a pedestal. Everyone's going through difficulties. Nobody has business figured out. How can we actually help these people from a practical standpoint? Like, step one to get their business in order.
hmm Well, and personally, like yesterday, I had a really bad day. I had poor attitude. And I think the first step is I acknowledged it.
Mm.
I also pulled an all nighter, but not for work. I had to drive back from Las Vegas, but so I was sleep deprived. But like I think for me personally, acknowledging it, be like, hey, my attitude sucks right now. Why is it that way? And I mean, I have my own little things. Like I'll write down, hey, what is stressing me out?
Mm.
This is not anything that is like earth shattering, but what is stressing me out and what do I have control over? Like this stressing me out because I know I'm supposed to do it. I haven't done it. This stressing me out, just I can't do anything about it. It is what it is. And then I know that, exercising, stuff like that gets my head right. Going home, hugging my kids if I have 10 minutes gets my head right. Um, I do ice baths. I did one last night because I was just like, my wife looked at me and it was cold, and she saw me in my towel. She's like, "Are you doing an ice bath?" I'm like, "Yeah." And I told her, I said, "My mind is not right.
Mm.
I'm not I'm not out here peddling ice baths, but it actually does help. I mean, there's something to it that clicks in your head. I got out, and I was still kind of having a bad day, but like it helped. So I mean, there's all sorts of things I think that can help you get your mind right, and just going back to what you were saying, Nick, you are, being a leader with your company. There's lots of different ways to lead. You can be vulnerable and tell people you're having a hard time, but I do think focusing on the positives can help too, because we're always putting out fires, but It
Mhm.
is nice to step back and see what you've accomplished. I've never felt like, I've made it and everything, but I do look back. I mean, even 5 years ago, I can be impressed with what we've done and what we've built, and I,
Yeah.
I
Somebody
am I am
somebody said
careful.
somebody said something that Nick's like digesting right now and putting on himself, trying to figure out what he can do about it.
What do you mean? By my
I feel like
facial expression?
yeah, like somebody said something where your like wheels are spinning right
Oh, my
now.
wheels are spinning. Trying to figure out where I can fit an ice bath in my condo.
Well, we can talk offline about that. I have lots of thoughts about sitting in cold water.
No, it's where my mind was going is that this is this is the difficulty of being in a leadership role or the leader in a business. And I keep thinking about the fact that, we're sitting here talking about being vulnerable and wanting to share more and be open-minded and share amongst one another and help everyone realize that, hey, everyone's going through this shit. We're all having a hard time. Let's work together to come up with a resolution. But we're faced with the challenge of not not appearing to be incompetent and not being weak.
Hmm.
And I think that's like those two things prevent us from being open, which is why I think the Builder 20 group is a let's we'll wait for that
It could
fire truck
always
to
be
go by.
worse.
I think that's where that yeah, great point, Tyler. But that's where the Builder 20 group, or even like, you know, our individual chats,
Hmm.
like offline, like that's where there's so much more uh benefit to something like that, because when you are in a Builder 20 group, I feel like this is a Builder 20 like promotional commercial, but it's like you really are, in a room. You all have an NDA. You all agree that, hey, we're going to show all our cards and we're going to be super open with what we got going on, and then everyone drills each other and then everyone learns from it. And my last one, I basically pitched him on this development deal I'm doing, and it was outlining it, and there was a handful of guys there that are way more conservative than me, and they drilled me for an hour, and I felt
Hmm.
I felt like garbage. And they're like, "No, no, 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 no. Listen, like it wasn't intended to be, to make you feel terrible. It was, hey, I want you to learn from my mistakes. I want you to like, this is what I've faced. These are the things that I've put in place to prevent me from failing, and I hope that you can as well."
Hmm.
Do you do you think it has to be as hard as it is, or this is just exclusive? It wouldn't be just exclusive to our industry, but is our industry somewhat of an anomaly as to how difficult it is to
I don't think
be?
so. I think that there's this generalized thought that our industry is harder than everything else, and that the reality is every industry faces these challenges in some way or another. And the reality
So
is
you
like,
think if you owned a business in another realm of business and you put
mhm.
as much effort as you've put into your business that it wouldn't be more successful, make more money, and run more easily?
Uh, I mean, I could go either way. I think that if I
Yeah.
restarted my construction business and I started from 0 and I put all, a ton of effort into it, I could be more profitable doing it a second time because I would have skipped certain things. If I jumped into another industry, I could hit it in a stride that, you know, I did really well all at once, or I could face similar challenges.
I just wonder how much risk you subject yourself to and how much effort you've put into
Well, I
building
think
NS Builders if you were to have put that in to another industry or another business.
well, I think
If
risk like that's a different question. I think that we inherently take on a ton of risk.
Hmm.
We're building homes, we're remodeling homes, we're changing structural components of homes. Stuff can catch fire, fall down, leak, mold.
there's just no rule book and there's no standard. And it's like I don't know. Does it have to be this hard? Why don't just write your own rule book and find the customers who are
Yeah.
willing to sign up for that, so that it makes your business operate the way that works best for you. If there's no rule book and there's no standard and everyone's just doing whatever the hell they want anyway, why not play your cards that way and just be like, hey, this is my company. This is how we work. If you want to hire us, do this,
Mhm.
and this is what works for us. And yeah, that's not the way the rest of the industry does it, but this is what works for me. Um, the way that we try and like kind of fit this mold within the industry, but then also have all of our own systems, I feel like we just are perpetually banging our heads against walls and being like, "Yeah, how you doing? Oh, I'm great." Meanwhile, you're like, "There's
So good.
so much going on." Every
Well,
call I have with somebody, it's like, "Yeah, things are good. This is my business." And like 15 minutes later, they're like, "I'm ready to jump off a bridge. Everything's wrong. I'm not making money. I'm working a million hours a week." And you're like, "Okay, so this is the truth
Mhm.
of the matter." And I just would be curious if this, I'm sure that every industry has its own unique set of challenges, but if it's as difficult as ours.
well, I think it's a really good question, Tyler, because I think about it a lot. Where what if what if I did put all this effort into something else? I mean, I'm in. I'm not going anywhere. But like, think about something else that is customer service based that is so expensive and the term is so long.
How about
I
build
think,
hotels? Go like light commercial or go commercial.
yeah. So I did. I mean, I did commercial for a little bit, and it is less personal. But stakes are still very high. Um, a lot of long hours. So like, not a ton of it is different. With the residential side, it is more personal, and that's good and bad. You're building, if you want to get sentimental about building a forever home, that's pretty cool. Creating something where people have the most important moments of their life. That's very cool. But also, it means they're spending a good portion of their entire wealth, on a certain thing, and
But is that an
they do.
ideal that we're selling ourselves to try and tell us that this is really cool? Or is that actually really cool?
A little of both, I think. It depends on the day. It
For the
does.
customer?
I do think, and this is going down a whole other just tangent, but I think just the internet in general has romanticized construction to a level that
Oh, yeah.
it's unhealthy.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I've experienced that firsthand in terms of, like, I've had people call me and talk about a video I've done, and then send me photos of their home saying that their builder did a shit job, and if asking me if they should sue him.
yeah.
And I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa." They're like, "Well, sending me pictures of their crown molding and their casing, and, like, the miters are filled with caulking." It's like, we're not talking you have to understand that you're talking about a different product.
Mhm.
The house that I'm showcasing is $6 million. You spent $320,000 on a home. So the
Mhm.
caulking filled crown molding is not an issue. That's just
Yeah.
a means of quality. And the quality
Mhm.
is, that's what you paid for. And I agree, the romanticism of construction is like that everything is elaborate and crazy and custom and try and this is the difficult part about promoting it. That's what I want to build.
Yeah.
I want to build the
No, it is.
complicated stuff and I don't care if it's expensive. It just happens to be that the complicated stuff that I like to build is expensive.
Yeah.
If
Well,
it was cheaper and we were building that like it's the product I want to build, not the dollar value.
What's the most fun you guys have ever had working in residential construction? Is it something you're doing now or
Are you
something from the past?
I feel like you're playing therapist here, but play
well,
I
no,
am.
I
I'm laying on a
agree.
I'm laying on a couch. No, you're
I
laying on
think
a couch right now. I'm sitting in a chair.
in a
I
black
think the
room.
portfolio pieces, the projects that were really hard and you're really proud of, those are expensive. They really are. And when I first started my company, Instagram wasn't a thing. What all that stuff, like someone asked me, like, did you think this is what your job was going to be? And I was like, no, I was hoping to build one, maybe two homes a year, and
Mhm.
I could make an extra $2,000 if I did the finished carpentry on the closets myself.
Mhm.
But when it's out there, and we're benefiting from it. hundreds of thousands of people seeing our work, from all over the world, and we'll reach out and be like, we need this. And that it goes back to kind of the applicants I'm getting too. We're getting a lot of applicants, but they're like, oh yeah, I project manage like for an IT company or something. Like they're
Oh,
trying to
dude, the
get
IT
into.
project managers, I have like 60 of them in my. I'm like, that's not the same thing.
Yeah, it's not, and it's they're like, oh, it'd be so cool to get in here and build something like that, and like it is, but it's not it's not exactly what you think it is. And I do think, just the seeing everything online, all the beautiful professional photos we have, all that stuff, it's setting an expectation that, if you're building a house, it's got to be Pinterest worthy and all that stuff. And that's great. Like you said, Nick, it's what we want to build. It's beautiful things.
Mhm.
But I don't know, it's just interesting where it is today. And I just don't know like what the next thing will be, if it's just going to continue to evolve this way. I'm sure there's going to be something after Instagram and all that stuff, but I think it's good in a way because there is a lot of really good information about, building science, best practices. We did a mini like presentation masterclass last week for what contractors expect from interior designers,
Mm.
and I did it. I thought it felt somewhat generic, but at the same time, I forget I do this every day, all day.
Yeah.
And Tyler from 7, 8 years ago would have ate that class up, right?
Yeah.
And that's just elevating everyone's game because, I mean, you and you guys, I haven't talked to you guys about interior designers, but they're incredibly important to me.
Hmm.
I love design, but it's not my job. And
Right.
helping them improve their game is going to make my life a lot easier. So, I mean, three old guys here complaining about the internet, I guess, but it's good. It is good. It's just again, and I actually construction. It is kind of romanticized a little bit, tough guy type stuff, and I actually have a lot of athlete friends on Instagram because like they like construction, they like to get into it kind of after their careers, and um, construction's cool. I really do love my job. I think if money and schedule wasn't involved, it would be the absolute perfect job. I think
Hmm.
it'd be so fun. Unfortunately, those are two very, very important things.
Yeah.
And I think for a long time, I felt like my homes, and to an extent now, we're limited by our budgets, right? I felt
Hmm.
like we can build anything, but unfortunately, someone has to pay for it. And um, you know, getting back to the whole mental health and us, enjoying our work a little bit more, or at least not being frustrated all the time, it does come back to clients. However, every client, every single one can be bad if you don't do a good job.
Yeah.
So some of it is sometimes on us, but ultimately getting the phone to ring with those clients that are, um, I don't know, empathetic or reasonable or rational and understand the process a bit. That's my goal, really. I don't want to put my project managers in a bad spot by me picking the wrong clients, and
Mm.
that's tough,
I don't.
or not. I don't know, a burden. And I usually do a pretty good job. I feel like, and again,
They still slip through.
yeah, I do think one of the things that construction's taught me the most is just to have a high level of empathy, and just whether that person's right or wrong, I can go into a meeting and understand why they feel the way they do. Whether it's a painter that's mad because they have to move a pile of finished carpentry, and so they have to go home later at night because of that. I get it. And then
Hmm.
a homeowner spending a lot of money, I understand why they would be frustrated, although maybe the expectation isn't correct. Um, that's one thing. Like, I don't know if my children, if I would encourage them to be in construction, um, but I want them to work in construction at some point. I want them to see how hard these people work, all the trades. I want them to see what goes into building something beautiful. So I think we have a really cool job. It's just like you said, Tyler, it's not standardized. It's
No,
like
and
it's the
I
Wild West.
so I look back at my career and I look at like what was the most enjoyable and when I had the most fun, and oftentimes it leads me back to projects that were less financially impactful or had
Mhm.
less financial stakes, and you were just doing it somewhat for the love of the construction and learning. And I wonder if that's just the romanticism and previous years of when you were younger. It seems as though everything that you put into place, like, are you guys at a point with your company where you just have to accept that this is going to be it? There's going to be the mistakes at this level. Is there really something that you can implement in business to within your systems to absolve yourself and your company of all of these issues, or is this just as good as it gets? Like, because I
Mhm.
wonder sometimes, like, what's going to change in the next 10 years that this isn't just what we're going to have to deal with. I feel as though maybe it's just me, but it's getting more and more difficult to execute at the level you want with the labor force that's out there, with the products that are out there, with the quality of what things are coming in, and everything else, and the cost of doing things. It's more difficult, and I wonder, is there anything that we can do to change this other than like what I
Mhm.
did where it's like scale back? It's
Yeah,
still, there's still the issues, there's just less of them just by sheer
sure.
volume.
Gosh, you got some really good questions. I think for us, I think systems are still something where if we implement them correctly, it'll make it easier, but won't make it easy.
Yeah.
Um, with new, like we're doing our first Tesla roof this year. I've never done one. I know there's going to be some hiccups. We have a great installer, but I'm going to learn a lot, I think, and my next Tesla roof will be better. We've implemented a lot of checklists for our team. We went to the builder show last year, and a couple of my team took like the monorail class where it's talking about like certain checklists where you need to check this off before you let your client even think about this, whatever. But we put as a team, we put together 66 checklists. And most of them were us going through and be like, I missed this once, I missed this once, I missed this
Mm.
once, I missed this. And it's trying to make a handbook for a custom home builder. However, every home we do is a prototype. It's brand new.
Mhm.
It's never been
Yeah.
built before. So there will always be challenges that we just can't anticipate. So is it as good as it's going to get? No, not for my company because we're continuing to get better. Although I think we're good. But as far as just the industry and construction, uh, I don't know. We do kind of have a saying around here: "Don't make it harder than it needs to be," and that's usually is mostly applied to drama or like someone just being upset
Mm.
or just interpersonal issues or working with a sub that just doesn't meet your standards. Like, just don't make it harder than it needs to be. Um, I think about that a lot when I want to respond to something that made me emotional. Like, it's really going to help if I'm emotional back.
Mm.
Whatever. But sometimes you got to stick up for yourself and your team. But no, I don't know. I think I'm a little bit closer on your end, Tyler, where I do think that our industry is a little harder because of the clientele and the expectations and the liability.
It's
But
really, really difficult to own a company where you want to produce a really high quality product and you care.
yeah,
Like, you see all of these old curmudgeons who have done it forever, and they're just like, slap it together, that's what you're getting paid for. And I never, not that that's what I want to do, but like
yeah,
I understand where they're coming from at this point, because at the end of the day, like nobody cares.
yeah,
Half the time, am I the only one who cares about this? Because I'm like everything up to this point, and then I come in and it's just you. You walked in the job, you're just like, whatever. I track shit all over. This isn't straight. And that's what's frustrating to me. Where it was easier when it was simpler, and I'm I understand why I've gotten to the point where I have, and it's a personal reason for doing that, and, like, it's just my personality. Um, no job's gonna be good enough. There's
Mhm.
never like, you're chasing this dragon, you're chasing this golden egg. You're on the hunt for the next best thing, and I'm sitting here
Well,
questioning, am I just setting myself up to
but
be disappointed all the time?
that might be why you're good. You know, it might be why you're good
I mean,
because you
it
care so much.
absolutely is why it's why Nick's the way he is, it's why you the
Yeah.
way you are.
Hmm.
That's what success, but,
Yeah.
like, why put yourself through that punishment? And it's
So,
elite athletes and everything else, they're just never satisfied, and it's you're at the pinnacle of your career and your sport, and you still are just not satisfied with anything, and at what point are you
well,
gonna stand back and be like, "Hey, I won an Olympic gold. Oh, but I gave up 3 points that I didn't need to." And it's like, just be
yeah.
happy with what's in front of you.
So it's like be happy or be good.
Yeah.
but
Care,
if you're
care,
not
or
good,
be
would you
ha
be happy? Because I know when I worked for someone else, I just knew my ambition exceeded my position. I was
Mm,
not going to be happy working for someone, and then I am. And again, going back to these kind of silly little things I do to try and get my head right, maybe trick myself. Um, I do occasionally write down, 10 things that I have now that I thought were going to make me happy.
mm.
Um, and it's
Like,
interesting.
like physical things?
Yeah, like physical things, or it could be like, hey, or a milestone, or like, oh, I wanted to
Mhm,
bench press this much, or I just needed to have for all my life, I just want to be married with kids. I'm married with kids. I have my ultimate goal. Like that's what I
yeah.
wanted. But
And then you move the goalpost.
then you move the goalposts. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a good expectation of being like, hey, or a good exercise to just be like, hey, just behind this mountain's another mountain. Enjoy the journey. I know that
Yeah.
sounds incredibly cliche, but like I do try and get my mindset to appreciate like I'm in prime time. This is
Mhm,
like I'm in the prime of my life with my family and my work and my health.
mhm.
And I know I'm going to look back in 15 or 20 years and be like, wow, I should have appreciated that more.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying I do, but I at least am trying to acknowledge
Mhm,
that, like, I've got, we've got a lot in my life that I should be happy for, and I am. And again, just trying to apply that to our company and our success. And I want my team to feel that as well. Um, but I don't know. I don't
I
know.
wonder
It's a
if most
grind.
of the people in our industry are of the mindset that they are going to continually move the goalpost, or they're fine with the goalpost being where it is.
I've seen some that have just, oh, I had 20 employees, that was the worst, now I've only got two. I can see people wanting to do that, um, for a lot of reasons. I personally am not built that way, and I wouldn't be
mhm,
happy. I feel like I gave up, but that's just my personal goals,
mm.
right? I'm not necessarily, I'm not trying to build an empire, but I'm trying to be the best of what I could be. Man, I'm full of these like cliches, but like,
You have
but
a
but
wall of
like
t-shirts in front of
I
you?
know I'm gonna get in the t-shirt slogan business, but no, I just like. I mean, this is one I saved on Instagram or something. It's one of those
Mhm,
motivational pages. Like hell on earth would be meeting the person you could have become. You know,
mm.
and I don't know. I've mentioned already on this podcast. I have low self esteem. I've never really loved myself, and I'm not. I'm always trying to be better, but that's me. I mean, and maybe this is the happiest I'm going to be you know, chasing that best version of myself.
I mean, I realize that pretty much most people and most people's businesses within our industry are an expression of themselves
Mhm.
in one way or another. And like your business type is an expression of you or what you want to accomplish personally. And maybe that's part of the issue with our industry, that it's not approached more from just a straightforward business
Mhm.
oriented mindset, um, where a lot of other businesses are, right? You have somebody who has a business idea and then puts people in place who are able to execute that, and that really has no business experience. And then like most of our business is these small companies who people come up on their own, and then they have a vision for what they want to do because they can't find anyone else who shares the same vision, and then they start their own business and they build that business based on personal goals. And I mean, I know for me, that's probably responsible for a lot of the successes and failures within my business, that a lot of my standards are based on what I want personally for myself, for the job, for my family. And if I just looked at from a straight business perspective and numbers perspective, it'd be a completely different story.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder, think about, what really motivates me. I like money, I do, but like it's not the basis for most of my choices.
Mhm.
Is
I want the
financial
companies.
security though? Like if you're an anxious person, does having
Yeah,
enough, cuz like
yeah,
that's a
it
big
is.
thing for me as well. Like I don't necessarily need material possessions, but I'm a better person when I know that I'm making money.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think, I mean, we do fine. I think the last few months I've been more serious about making the business or taking the business side more seriously. It's not that I hadn't before, but I felt a little bit of pressure. Just that, am I making the best business choices for everyone involved? Because the better we do, the more efficient we are. The more we could share, the more we could bonus. Trying not to like eat costs where that could have thrown a pretty baller Christmas party for my people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I do, I do think, and that's where, I mean, we joked about Brad, but earlier, but like Brad is like, he's a businessman and he's really smart and I respect him. I saw him, we were speaking at our university. I saw him a couple weeks ago, and he's all business, right? Not all business, but he's very smart that way. And I think there's
Yeah.
a lot I could learn from him. He's very polished. We're two very different guys, but like he's he's built a brand where they know it. Again, from the outside looking in, it looks like
Yeah.
he knows what he's doing, right?
Right.
um, but again, it's like, as far as what my company's goals, all that, I think we're just striving to continue to be better and better, and hopefully I'm making choices that make our team better, and then hopefully that gets around that our culture is really good. People like working here, and that'll attract better people.
Mhm.
Take off, let some of the burden from myself and some of our other team members.
So
Um,
when like as a metric, a quantifiable metric, what are you thinking of when you say better?
so maybe keeping, not making. You mean just as a company and
Yeah,
for our
like when you say
building?
like when you're thinking in your head, I want our company to be better.
Yeah,
What does better look like from a metric standpoint? Is it profitability? Is it the product that you're putting out? Is it a combination of
yeah.
them?
So I think it's, yeah. I mean, it's being more efficient, probably making better margins, quality, limiting mistakes. Just fewer mistakes.
So
Happy
and
clients.
I'm not trying to interrupt you, but I feel as
Yeah.
though we are shooting ourselves in the foot because you're trying to do more difficult, more custom products,
Mhm.
and then you're also trying to be more efficient. And
Yeah.
it's you can't have but like you're doing a Tesla roof. There's zero efficiency there because you haven't done it before.
Yeah.
And you like, yeah, you'll learn from it, but then the next job you're going to be trying something else. And it's almost as if we want to get better and we want better products or projects, but at the same time that's responsible for the inefficiencies within our business, but we have to maintain the same
Yeah.
price point to land the job. And it's like, is this possible to have all of this?
I think mostly what I'm saying is like take a small example of like we're behind schedule on something because my team should have double checked the finished carpentry material order. We didn't have enough. We wish we could go back a month and check it, and it put us back 3 weeks. I think small things like that. Like I mean, another one is have a great designer and a great project manager. They both work well together. They're both very good at their jobs. And the other one thought the other one was doing something, which was getting approval on the countertops, like eyes on the countertops, not just the name. And we put in a countertop because the other one thought the other one talked to the homeowner and got eyes on it, and nobody did. And we put in countertops the owner hated, and it cost me 20 grand. Like that went into our monorail checklist. Check off if the client has seen the actual slabs, like stuff like that. I think, but you're not wrong when we're talking about when we're building. You know, we're gonna build a 30,000 square foot house, like with a gun range in it. I don't know how to efficiently build a gun range, but we're sure are gonna try. So
Yeah.
I don't think necessarily. I think it's improving on the things we actually can control and we know better,
Hmm.
or we should know better.
Yeah, it just it I guess it's the nature of the beast that the better you get, the more people trust you or instill confidence, have faith in you to be able to execute stuff that's outside of your comfort zone, which in one way or another, yeah, it's a portfolio builder, but it's going to end up costing you money. But it's like this is
Mm-hmm.
where I want to be, this is what I want to do. And it's from a business perspective, I feel as though it's limiting what you can do because you're putting so many resources into something
Yeah.
that may or may not just be serving you personally more so than from a business perspective.
Well, I think you're going to make me self-reflect a lot after this podcast,
I
but
was doing it
I think
today. I was doing it today. I had a conversation with somebody that like was a business call that just turned into a life call and what he was going through in life and just made me think about our industry as a whole and
Mhm.
how we position ourselves and what we do and what the expectations are for customers and that I like with how much risk and stress we have and like you guys more than me because I can't handle it and I would have been divorced had I continued down the path I was. But it like we should be making way more money or we should be have some sort of compensation. There needs to be more because it's just high stakes. It's high pressure.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's like for what? So that like you said, 15 years from now, you can look back and be like, well, I didn't do this with my kid. I didn't do that with my kid. Maybe I have a little bit of money in the bank, but I probably would have had the same amount had I gone and done something else. And I question um, just the state of the industry and what we're doing. And I don't mean to be a downer, but it's like sometimes what are we doing?
Yeah.
Is this are we doing the best that we can for our industry as a whole, or are we so concerned with our personal wants and needs that everyone's goals in the industry is independent of that? But I think that was just spurred on from my conversation earlier today with a guy who's around our age who's struggling with how to make ends meet with all of these people and with the workforce that's available to him, even at the rate that he's paying.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
it's tough, and I think, going back to what we talked about in the beginning of this podcast, like, the comparison in using social media as the example, it's like the constant comparison, the constant, you know, opportunity to see what you guys are doing, and then for me to try to improve, oftentimes, we're so we're so much, we're so invested in growing our business, growing our brand, and doing a better job that, like you just said, Tyler, like giving away work to clients, like, making concessions to get the project done to a level that you're happy with. And we've all been there where we replace the countertops because of a misstep, or we change something because we feel as though we could have done a better job that cost the company money. And sure, the client appreciates it and says thank you, but then you can't throw the Christmas party, and that's what the people want. That's what your people like. Maybe they don't want it, but they would value the time, outside of work more than having the opportunity to redo work on a project. And it's like this double negative where it's like you're not only ripping out the work and costing the business money, but now you're taking away the opportunity for your team to have an outing.
Mhm.
It's
And
like the better you get, the harder it is to make everything work, and it should be the opposite.
yeah, I'm been sitting here reflecting on something you said a couple minutes ago is like, you know, is the reality of where I'm at or where we're at the fact that this is only going to continue to be difficult to execute on. I'd like to think that we continue to get better and better and better, but if I were to truly sit here and think about all the mistakes we've ever made, can I honestly say that we've not made that same mistake 2, 3, 4 times, maybe more, and I don't think I can.
No, but you're also elevating yourself to tackle harder projects. So, like,
Sure.
the goalpost is moving, and the mistakes are maybe
The
there's more mistakes
There's
because
more I feel like it's more mistakes and they're new mistakes, but, like,
exactly.
we had, it was I I'm just I'll share as much as I feel comfortable sharing, but, like, we had a recent situation on a project where these doors came in, and they were mortised for full mortise hardware, and the door shop mortised them for us. They show up, and the door rail and stiles split. And it's all cracked. And I asked my team like, "What's going on?" I don't know." So I look in the mortise, and they blew out all the mortise and tenon joints, so there was nothing holding the door together. So we go to the door manufacturer, no problem. We'll replace it. We replace it. We get new doors. Guess what? The hardware on that door isn't supposed to be full mortise. It's supposed to be a bore. Why the? How, how did that happen? And
Mhm.
it's like, and I know that we have the process in place, and I know that I mean, we go through a commercial approach to approving shop drawings, everything. And it's such a simple elementary mistake that not only that didn't only happen once, but it happened twice. And it's
I
and sorry, but like, and that is where it's like, but then now compound that on the fact that it's not one door because I'm doing a small remodel, but it's on 4 doors because I'm doing a whole house. And then the house gets bigger, and it's like now it's 8 doors. And it's so
Mhm.
and that's where it's like you call it the monorail checklist, which, it's something that we talk about, but it's like
Can you
I
inventory all of that and then keep it straight?
right.
Mhm. I've had I've said this so many times. Like, I'm really sick of this has never happened before on any house happening on my houses.
Right.
Like, how could we have planned
Lucky
for
me.
that? You know, like, oh, this has never happened before ever. We're like, oh,
Yeah.
cool, great, glad I could be the first.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of the stuff, like, you commiserate again, like, with your team. You're like,
Mm.
okay, this happened. Let's not go on a witch hunt necessarily, but we need to know what happened so we can
Yeah.
not do that again.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
there's definitely, and
but
to
it's
your
cool.
point, Tyler,
It's Go ahead, sorry.
I mean, we're in the custom world, and I mentioned, every home is brand new and a prototype, and there's stuff, there's problems I'm going to have next week I might have never thought about, right? So I do think that's just part of the gig. um, yeah, we're definitely problem solvers. Wake up every day, solving problems, but hopefully we're doing a good enough job that we get ahead of a lot of them.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to know that you have the best employees in the world, though.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you guys just had my people, you wouldn't complain as much.
Um,
Um,
it, it,
no,
I
I mean,
I do think it was funny to start off the podcast like that. I'm like, I literally just got off a call with somebody who's like, I have 14 employees and I want to get rid of everyone because it's such a struggle right now. And I mean, you hear it all the time.
Yeah.
um, and it everything is relative.
Mhm.
Um, everyone has struggles. Every business, every industry has struggles. Everything is relative, and you have like your problems compared to somebody else's problem. There's always going to be somebody who's worse. There's always going to be somebody who's better. You have to understand that you have to be good with your life and what you're doing, and that your decisions serve you and your family adequately and properly. But I did want to ensure that um that our podcast wasn't just, hey, like we've had a few guests on recently where it's like we have the best business and all the systems in place and everything's perfect, and I'm like, there's no way. Like even
Yeah.
Brad appears that everything's perfect. I now want to get Brad on and be like, Brad, what's the deal? Like tell us the crap, because there's just no way. It's
Yeah.
impossible. And I've seen enough to know that no matter how high the high end of construction is or how low end, we
Yeah.
all deal with the issues. We all deal with the problems. There's all the struggles and everything else. Maybe some people handle them better. But it's all there. And no matter what you see, it's all there. And some people just handle it better than others, or some people are content with good is good enough. And maybe at the end of the day, those are the people who have it figured out.
Mm.
Um,
I do think,
because
yeah. I mean, I think it's to the guy that's not moving the goalpost. You're saying, like,
yeah,
he's in
like
the end zone. He's doing his thing. He's making his margins, and he's consistent. I
Like,
think
all right,
I
this
think those
isn't a
guys I think those guys are. I think they're content.
this isn't a dig at Spencer, but, like, before Spencer, the trim carpenter,
Yeah,
that,
Lewis.
like yeah, before I knew him on a more personal level, he glued a nosing onto a piece of plywood for a built-in, and then he took a hammer and showed how hard it was to break off, and I said, like, "You're gonna put that on for a customer like that?" And he's like, "Yeah, good enough is good enough for my world." And I was mortified. And then the more I got to know him and how he makes money and the people he's working for and what product able to offer at the price point, like he's providing tremendous value for his customers at the price point and with the setup of his business, that like, yeah, good enough is good enough in a lot of circumstances, and he understands that and understands his market, and it's super smart. He's not overbuilding for ego. He's not overbuilding for his own personal
Yeah.
reasons. Like he's executing contract above standard
Mhm.
for a quality price. Like he's what our entire industry was built off of.
A
And
hun
I respect the hell out of that.
100%, and I think that you just touched on ego. I think that a lot of what we do is for ego, myself included. Ken and I were chatting recently, and our cabinetry is expensive, um, and we were talking about ways to reduce the cost without reducing quality, and we went through it. And frankly, there's a handful of things and ways that we build the cabinetry that are only for us. That
Mhm.
if we completely remove them, literally not a single person would ever know.
Yeah.
It doesn't reduce the quality. It literally doesn't change anything. It was this thing that we thought was, let's just do that because it's different and it's better than everyone else. It's like,
Mhm.
define better. That it's more expensive, you're using more material, you're it was silly. And and we've recently had another project where the client started, was questioning some of our costs of millwork. And ultimately they were like, you know what, we see the value in it, the quality's there. And I sat down with Ken and I'm like, you know what, why don't we be proactive here and offer them the opportunity to come in at a lower price point by changing these three things. And he was like, well, what if we change these four things? And the fourth thing, I was like, you know what? That one I don't agree with, because that significantly reduces the whole experience of that cabinet. And he's like, I agree. Let's leave that and let's do the other three. I'm like, great.
Mhm.
And if they want to change things like the material that we're building the boxes out of, like they can add that on, but
Mhm.
let them be in control of it. We were not forcing, but we were basically saying it's walnut. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, like in that case, it's rift cut white oak interiors. And I was like, why don't we just do maple? And I'm like, because honestly, maple's gonna be like it's pretty close. No,
Yeah.
like they're not gonna open that cabinet and be like, oh, it's
I mean,
oak.
if it was glass front, they
Sure,
obviously, but
sure.
like if it's closed, your kids are gonna put their like dirty ass dishes in there and unorganized and everything
It's
else.
like,
Who
what's the
cares?
saving? It's like, oh, it's a few $1,000s. It's like, okay. And
Yeah.
if we can, hey, just FYI, here's a oak sample. If you want, it's, X thousands of dollars more. Yeah, there's no benefit to it. Right. Maple's going to work just fine. The finish of the exterior cabinetry is in the same wood tone. It's going to look great.
Mhm.
And it was and we were doing it for ego. We were doing it because we wanted to be different and have this different product. And the reality is like exactly what you said, Tyler. This industry was built on figuring out how to build things efficiently and not overbuild them for the sake of overbuilding.
Yeah. And I think that is where a lot of our business goals and standards come from, less of an industry wide standard as much as just like what your goals are, what Tyler's goals are, and they're like personal beliefs, which is good and it's important. You have to have those beliefs, but not swaying from them
Mm,
when it doesn't compromise quality or playing to your price point or your market or whatever, is important.
Yeah.
But I know I derailed the conversation pretty much for the entire podcast, but
All right.
you're
So
gonna
let's
need
talk about what I wanted to talk about.
you're gonna need another ice bath.
No, I mean, I think it's good. It's been a good experience for me. Because you asked some questions, and I try not to give the, I don't know, cookie cutter answers, but I I don't know. I'm always, like I said, I'm always trying to do better.
yeah.
So, and we run into that too, try to value engineer stuff. And, I'm kind of a cabinet snob too, right? Like we just finished our cabinets in our office right
Hmm.
behind me. And we experimented with some less expensive drawer boxes, and they're great. They're
Right.
great. And we can provide more value there. And, if we dropped this cabinet on the floor or this box on the floor versus how we were doing it before, they'd both be fine. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
um,
it's funny. It's funny. It's like the early days of tool testing too, where it's like
mhm,
my Makita's 0.1 second faster than the Milwaukee, so I'm using the Makita.
yeah,
It's like who gives a shit?
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's like the same thing with the drawer box. It's like they look identical. It's like yeah, but this one when Tyler swings with his big muscles and slams on the table, it
mhm,
breaks.
Damn, I
yeah.
thought you were talking about me for a second.
I am talking
It
about you.
was. It's not about you.
But it's like,
Yeah,
but when is that drawer box gonna ever be swung like a hammer?
And if it
yeah,
is, replace one drawer box, not the entire kitchen worth of drawer boxes. But I
mhm,
mean, from that point, also, I think it as our job as hosts of this podcast is to challenge what people say and make sure that we
yeah,
have guests coming on here and being as authentic as possible, and it not
mhm,
just be, I mean, we want to serve as a platform for you to pitch your product and pitch your business, but more
mhm,
so I want to be a resource for people who need help,
yeah,
who need to hear that, like, hey, this everyone struggles. Business isn't perfect, even though things look perfect. I mean, even you getting on here and saying I struggle with mental health, with anxiety, like that type of stuff, I think big picture is more important,
Mhm.
than pitching your brand or pitching your product or what you're able to sell or what designers you work with and everything else.
mhm,
There's a time and a place for that. And I feel personally that we've had a couple of guests come on and I let them run with that. And I want to be the resource for people that know they're going to come on here and get a genuine conversation. I do believe that we did have that today.
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree, man.
So I appreciate it.
You're
Tyler,
welcome.
good to see you, man.
Yeah, always glad to be here. I think I had to ask to be on the second time, but
I asked you last week.
I know. I think
I
didn't
was
I
like, "What are
say
you doing next
he was
Tuesday?"
right
He's
here?
like, "Nothing." I'm like, "Wonderful."
I have nothing. Nothing.
Nothing
No,
going.
No, he
I
didn't say that.
I admire you guys and respect you guys, and I think it's good for my team, who will probably listen to this, to hear, like, you guys struggle too, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's just perception, and um, every good company, not exclusive to construction. I think every good company has challenges,
Mhm.
and I think it's fine to admit that. I think we our customers understand we are human, but it's how we handle those challenges that make us
Exactly.
stand
Yeah.
out.
It makes
Rather
me
than sweeping them under the rug, like,
Hmm.
the difficulty lies in how you react to those problems. And I think that this should serve as inspiration and guidance to even if your employees listen to this, that like, yeah, we should be proud. We experience the problems as everyone else, and maybe we do have some hardships, but we're trying to sort them out and better ourselves. And not every company can say that.
yeah.
Hmm.
Sorry, Nick, I
Absolutely.
interrupted
No,
you.
I was just all I was gonna say is, like, it makes me wonder, we talk about the Builder 20 group and the opportunity to chat one-on-one, but it's like, how do we have these conversations in a larger format, you know? It's almost like it's almost like you wanna invite everyone to, like, a big one day, like, just a big conference room and just, like, have the opportunity that everyone just talks.
Yeah, but I think it's more consistent. Like, I think it's having the conversation once a month where
Yeah.
I think having a return guest does afford us an opportunity to do that because they've been on once before. People understand who they are. They don't feel as though they have to come on and pitch their company.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We've already broken the ice prior to that, and we can get some honest information out of them without feeling that we're just bullying them into like, what's the real deal? Like, tell us the truth.
Yeah.
So nobody else is
I
going to come
was
on a second time, but
I was on. Sorry, I know we're gonna wrap up, but I was talking to Sam, who works for me, and he listens to you guys religiously, even before I do.
What's up, Sam?
Before, hey, it's up, Sam. Anyway, he was like, so after the first one, he's like, "Were they nice to you?" It's like, "What do you mean?" It's like, "Well, they can kind of get after you if you're not being cool." And I was
That's
like, "Oh,"
funny.
and I was like, "Yeah, I thought they were great." So
That's
thanks
funny.
for being nice to me.
You're welcome.
He wasn't saying you're a jerk, but like he was kind of saying you can sniff out BS, right?
Oh, yeah. We've definitely had some BS on here before.
yeah, and I've sat on my hands a bunch. Not that I felt as though I needed to sit on my hands with you, but I did. Somebody texted me last night. Was like, I was just waiting for you to call this guy out, and you kind of did. And then it's like Nick liked them, and I still think that they're full of BS, and I should have said something to them.
Oh, now you're gonna have to text me who that is so I can reassess.
I feel like you probably know.
I
Normally, if there's
probably do.
BS, I'm texting Nick
Yeah.
offline, like while we're having the podcast,
Oh
questioning like,
man,
is
you
this
guys have
really
been
what the
looking
fuck is
down a
No,
little bit.
No, I haven't
no
texted Nick
text.
once this
I got my
podcast, so we're
GPS
good.
open, just that's it.
Okay, cool.
Well, Tyler, maybe I would love to have you as a reoccurring guest because I think what other Tyler just said makes a lot of sense. We've
Mhm.
opened this conversation up, and there's more transparency there. So if you're up for it, then yeah,
Yeah,
we
I'd
should
love
get you
to.
on a regular occurrence.
Yeah, it's been fun. I'd like to. One interesting thing about podcasts is the first one I was on years and years ago. I don't even remember which one it was, and I stumbled upon it and listened to a few of it. It's like, wow, I disagree with a lot of what I said.
Yeah,
So
Yeah, that
maybe
happens.
give me a chance to come back on and I can like recant some of the things I said. But
yeah,
Yeah,
we're always
absolutely.
learning, right? We're changing, we're evolving.
that's it. Cool, man. Well, I
We
appreciate it.
yeah,
Yeah.
appreciate your time. I know it's tough.
Oh, we're good. This is awesome. Thank you guys.
We should get a collection of all of the faces that people make
When they
when they're
pop up.
reading that to click put like a collage together, an
Yeah,
end of the year
huh?
collage.
That would be good. I like Tyler. He's I mean, nice guiding on the conversation because it is funny. Like, I feel like he talked about his people a lot the first episode, and again he talked about them, which rightfully so. But to peel that back a little bit and realize that he too. I just feel like this year has just been super hard on a lot of people.
Yeah.
People, just people, and specific to people problems. Um, but
Yeah, and I mean, you get on a podcast, obviously, that's what you want to do, and you wanna advocate for your company and your people and everything else, but, like, he did that. Like, he's experiencing all of these issues and appreciates his people, and they still are doing more and going above and beyond, but they still experience problems, and I think that that is what makes a good team, and that's what differentiates a lot of employees from other employees, is that our job is issues nonstop. I don't care who you say, who
mhm,
you are, what you do, it's issues nonstop, and how you deal with those and how your team deals with those issues is more important than anything else.
totally. Well, appreciate you guys listening. If you guys haven't already, head over to our website, moderncraftsman.co. There is some awesome Musgrave pencils up for sale. We are doing a pre-sale, so once they are sold out, they are sold out. So make sure you order them. They're made in the USA. They're awesome. Moderncraftsman.co. And as always, leave us a review on your podcast app. Keeps us in the #1 spot. And we'll see you guys next week.
If you were smart, you'd buy packs of pencils and then sell them individually. Just an idea.
Oh, nice.